And we're live, Pep Talk Boys, joined today by Jay, Albie, and Kenny. Ken, how are you both?
All good, all good.
You sure about that, Jay? I was watching your derby match of Liverpool yesterday.
Yeah, but Ken,
We're the happy fans, Ken.
Ken, I expected it though. I told Joe this earlier. I told Joe I took the captaincy of Ronaldo on my fantasy team and give it to Salah. So if that doesn't say that I knew it was going to be a drumming, then nothing else will it? So I expected it.
I think the signs were there for Man United from the Leicester game last week. And then afterwards it was only going to go like kind of downhill for there because you just haven't been playing well. It's like mates playing together rather than the team playing together. But in terms of like boxing, I think obviously congratulations to Cure Stephenson beat Hearn. I had Hearn win losing that fight on points on 117, 111, but he got stopped in the 10th. So that's good going by Shakur Stephenson.
It was a good fight. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Really dominant and classy performance from Shakur Stephenson. Really good at calculated aggression. What did you make of the stoppage, Jay?
The stoppage was right. Like you said then, it was domination from every round. I don't think I'll give Herring a round. I think one judge out of the three give Herring 1 round in the fight, so the other 2 judges didn't give him none, and that judge gave him 1. Yeah, Shakur Stephenson is something. He is special. He's a special talent. And let's not forget Jamel Herring absolutely blew Cole Frampton away earlier in the year. We done a watch along for that earlier in the year on Pep Talk and he looked absolutely brilliant in that fight. So it shows you how good Shakur Stephenson really is in that, and I'm really impressed. So look, the stoppage was great. I think it was right. I knew they knew each other personally, so I guess they didn't really want to hurt each other as bad as they did, but they done a professional job. And it was an absolute right stoppage in the 10th round. And congratulations. And I want to see some big fights with Oscar Valdez or Tank Davis in the future. They're the fights that I'm really interested in for Shakur Stephenson.
Yeah, that's super featherweight division. As he moves up to obviously lightweight, it'd be a really, really interesting fight. But Kenny, pound for pound star, will he one day be the main man in boxing?
Well, for him to be a pound for pound star, there's a lot of good fights out there for him as well. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of good champions as well, like a lot of youngsters as well. We've got in terms of like the lighter weights, like from about like not like super middleweight, but moving down welterweight downwards, bantamweight. So we've got some good fighters coming up and coming, and they're all set to be overseas. So for me, it's very, very exciting. But if he fights like that, there's other fighters who can say, you've got Haney, who's a good fighter. You've got Lopez, another good fighter. Obviously, not winning all. I'm not naming all the fighters within the weight class, but these guys are. I actually looked at like the up and coming boxers, and you look at some top fighters already. Garcia, Lopez. I haven't even mentioned Lomachenko, but you've got Haney, you've got Stephenson. All these sort of fighters, they're all between under 25. These fighters I mentioned. There's names I've even left out. But if you catch the drift, these are fighters that are all going to have a claim to, future pay-per-view stars. And we still haven't even mentioned, the fighters who everyone thinks are pensioners now, fighters in their 30s, fighters like, people like Spence. You've got people like Crawford as well, who I consider top, pound fighters. Then you've got Usyk, 34. You've got Tyson Fury, 33. These are top names. But, they're getting on a bit. So, Canelo's 31 this year, isn't he?
Well, look, what Joe said then, Ken, the 130 division up until 140, I think they're all going to fight each other. Everyone in the 130 to 140, even though they might not be in the same weight category at the moment, I can see them all fighting each other. I can see the 130s going up.
It's where the money is, isn't it? Like, for instance, you're talking future clashes, I think what's happened right now is that one thing we've learned in the last probably, I think, last 10 years of boxing, that it's just important to have a defining fight where, you're fighting someone who's got a big as name as you. You're making a lot of money as well as how do I say it? Winning a title. I think you can argue in saying, fighters are vacating their titles because they want these 50-50 fights on pay-per-view. Like David, James DeGale, he vacated his titles. He says, right, I want. He wants, legacy fights. And I think that's what it's all about. And I think you're right. There are going to be a lot of toing and throwing people, keeping their titles at a certain weight, but they're going to move up to see if they can, asset strip another division like Canelo. He's shown a lot of people the way. But, before Canelo, you had people like Sugar Ray Leonard doing it, Tommy Hearns, what
Pacquiao.
I call all asset stripping, Sugar Ray Leonard, welterweight, middleweight, super middleweight, light heavyweight, you know what I mean? So, yeah, you'll see a lot of those fights in the next future. Next few years.
Definitely, but as it goes, like for the near future, should we say, Shakur Stevenson obviously now holds the WBO strap for the 130 super featherweight division. What current super featherweight, Jay, would you like to see him go in against next?
I probably wouldn't. I want to see him go up in weight, Joe. If I'm being honest, I want him
already though, because he's just.
Well, Oscar Valdez would be a great fight. Let's be real. Oscar Valdez is the fight that I want to see. So, yeah, at that weight, 130. But I think he's a superstar. I think he's a bit like Tank. I think he doesn't have to demolish the whole division or fight all the other champions to say that he's one of the best in that weight. I think he can definitely go up the weights and win and go from one weight to another weight, fighting for world titles back to back. That's what I think. I think he's that good. I think that can happen. But yeah, Oscar Valdez is the fight that I want to see. I think that will be an absolute. Well, it'd be a barn burner, wouldn't it? It's two great fighters. Shakur Stevenson, he's got great skills, but I like his power as well. I think he's shot selection's fantastic. His combination punching is another level. So I think, Oscar Valdez is a banger and he can knock you out. Yeah. But obviously, the speed, as we've seen before, speed can sometimes counter power because the speed can accumulate its own power in its own right. So that is a tear up that I definitely want to see. I definitely want to see a shootout between them two. But look, I'm open to multiple fights. But yeah, if there's any people in the 130 you want to see, let me know. Obviously, I'm looking up to like 135 for him. Maybe you got Lomachenko's and all them sort of fighters, maybe between the 130, 140 pound range. So look, I'm definitely want to see him move up. But at 130, it's one fight, and that's Oscar Valdez for me.
I think he's got to grow into those weight divisions. He looks good at super feather. He's only just moved up. I think with time, he's still young. He'll move up to 135 and maybe 140, 147. I'm not too sure about.
Yeah.
But if I was Shakur, I think I'd stay at 135 at 130 and just try and assert yourself as that force to be reckoned with. Because you say Oscar Valdez is a fantastic fight. I'd really love to see the Chris Colbert fight. Two young guys coming up in the super featherweight division. That would be a fantastic fight. But what do you think, Kenny? If you were Shakur Stevenson, where would you be heading next?
Well, I'm tending to be in agreement with Drake. He even though he hasn't had many fights, he hasn't even had 20 fights yet. The way he's going in his career and acceleration, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be taking his fights. I think he's ready. I think he's ready for a Valdez. But in terms of moving up weight, that is something I can definitely see him doing in the next couple of years. Because, as I said before, there's some really, really good fights out there. It seems like when you talk about playing fighters like Shakur Stevenson, Haney, all these great pound fighters. It was only about a year and 18 months ago when we were talking about Lomachenko. He's unbeatable. No one's ever going to beat him. And then Lopez, regardless whether Lomachenko had an injury or not, Lopez, you know what I mean? Beat him well. So again, there's so many, really, big fights out there. A lot of weights. Pound for pound. And I mean, change the subject, pound for pound. No one's talking about the guy from, the Hibernian support, Taylor. He's another one who's
in my pound for pound top 5.
Yeah.
Who was that again? Sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
When we talk about top pound for pound, when we're talking about, things like 140 down, 140, 130. We're not even talking about Taylor, are we?
Oh
In
yeah,
that sort of
sorry,
category,
yeah.
Pat Pavane, yeah.
He's in my top 5.
Yeah, but that's a great point. And for me, with when we talk about the size and mixing with experience of Shakur Stevenson, the fight I would love to see. I'm going to kind of merge both of your opinions here and say I would love to see the Lomachenko fight because Lomachenko is a small lightweight, and so I think that's perfect size wise, and I think obviously it's a massive test, but if he comes through Lomachenko, he's an instant star, and if he doesn't, it's great learning experience going in up into the 135 division, going against maybe the likes of. I'm going to say the likes of Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis because by that time I think
You know what? I didn't even mention Gervonta
Lopez
Davis.
and Haney will be in
I
140.
can't believe I didn't make Gervonta Davis. Have you
I've
noticed as well?
already did. Ken. I threw it out there earlier.
I know. You know something, right? When you talk about all these fighters, have you noticed, right? There's a lot of southpaws now. A lot of these pound per pound fighters, they all sick with southpaws. You know what I mean?
I think they should though, Ken. It's like football players. You should practice fighting southpaw. Like you should practice using your left foot growing up. A lot of people neglect that, and I think with boxing as well. From a young boxer, learn the switch punching, learn to go southpaw, and for me, I believe that will bring a lot more to your game if you can switch over. That's what I love about Tyson Fury. One of his assets is he can switch to go to southpaw, orthodox, and it's no different to the way that he fights. And I think that's a beautiful thing that you can bring to the table. So yeah, if there's any young fighters out there, please learn to fight southpaw if you're an orthodox fighter, and vice versa. If you're a southpaw, try and fight orthodox as well.
You know what? The most underrated punch in boxing, I think, right, is I always thought like the left, like the jab. Come left up was the most overrated punches, but like the backhand punch from a southpaw, you know what I mean? It's so underrated, especially we saw it used to great perfection. Nearly a month ago in N17 by Usyk. But yeah, it's just something that came to attention when you mention all those names. I'm thinking there's a lot of southpaws in there, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot of southpaws, and what a great division. Just before we move on to the main talking point, we'll get some of the comments in. Still Boxing 365 says Oscar Valdez is a drug cheat and looked average in his last fight. He's far from a great. Please allow that talk when his career is now tainted. Do you see his career as being tainted now, Kenny?
Well, that's a fantastic point, by Six Boxing, because I'm so one of the things is that when I see these sort of things, fighters failing drug tests, I do like to give him the benefit of doubt. But I think with this guy, it's hard. It's a hard ask because and my beef is in terms of I'm all about boxers' safety at all levels, and I got to think of the safety of his opponent if he's taking performance-enhancing drugs. But there's always a fighter who is going to be tainted by that. We're saying that one of the best heavyweights of all time. He had issues where he failed drug tests as well, Tyson Fury. So it's and obviously my man Dillian Whyte has had issues as well, even before the Rivas situation. There was issues even before when he was when he was out of action. So it's something that it's something the authorities really need to look at. But I do agree with the point with Valdez is, I think it's a hard one, especially when you're a lighter weight, and these guys do rely on them speed. And I think what's happened when you punch at such speed, and when the punch ain't seen, you're a dangerous weapon, even without taking performance-enhancing drugs. So yeah, good point there by the gentleman Six Boxing.
Yeah, no, definitely, and we've got Pavan Sahota says Tyson Fury needs to go up against Usyk, Joyce, AJ, and Whyte. If he wins versus all of them, there is no debate, and Sam Fury is the best of this era and one of the greats in heavyweight history. But and that brings us on to our next point, the main topic of today's show. Bob Arum has come out and said in the last 24 hours that the short list of opponents is Dillian Whyte and Joyce, and he wants it to happen in the UK next March, being that if Dillian Whyte has to fight Otto Wallin in the early parts of next year, then he will go to Joyce. What do you make of that statement, Jay?
Well, look, I'm happy for once that Tyson's coming back to the UK. Obviously, we've seen for many years, the last couple of years, he's been fighting in America. So for this news, to me, is great. Obviously, when we see it and we're on fight night and it's all happening, obviously I'll be more happy. A lot of things get said in the media. Bob obviously likes to say a few crackers now and again, and you never know whether it's true or not. So look, hopefully what he's saying is correct and that he does fight next. Whether it's Joyce or Dillian Whyte, I definitely don't think it's Joyce. I don't think Fury wants that smoke. I think Joyce is one of the most difficult fighters out there. I feel like he will probably go with Dillian Whyte out of the two, because Dillian Whyte's probably going to make a bit. I reckon he would make more money than the Joyce fight, even though I think Joyce is a harder fight. For me, I'm not saying that Joyce is better than Dillian. I don't want to get into that debate or people in the comments to say that's what I think. But what I'm saying is, on momentum, Joyce is a really tough fight at the moment. He beat Daniel Dubois. He won his last outing. Who did Joyce fight his last at Takam? He took Takam out, took some big shots.
Jay?
There's a lot of I know, but there's a lot of boxing being going on, especially in this heavyweight division and that. So, but yeah, Carlos Takam, a great victory there. Took some big shots from Takam, but I thought Joyce looked really great. And I just think the momentum, he's fought more regularly. And I just think Joyce is a handful for anyone. And I just think at this moment in time, I think Tyson will probably feel like Dillian, he would have a better chance to fight Dillian if they fought star-wise. I feel like he feels Dillian might be a bit more vulnerable. As I've said many times on this show, Joyce has got a chin like iron. There's no one taking Joyce out, in my opinion. If they do, then they're one hell of a man, and I will say fair play. But to me, I think out of the two, they probably will pick Dillian, just because John Fury said before the Wilder fight, Dillian deserves it. I know he said afterwards he ain't having that shot, but I think if it's between the two gentlemen, I believe Team Fury will pick Dillian Whyte, as he's a mandated anyways, the WBC mandatory. It all just makes sense. But look, I love Joyce, and I think that would be a great fight. But what I think will happen, it will be Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury. But either or, look, they're great fights. Let's be honest, gents. They're not really one you think, oh, I wouldn't rather see that one or the other one. If any of them two fights happen, it's winner, chicken dinner, innit? So look, I'm up for a bit of. I'm up for any of them fights, but I do believe it will be Fury versus Dillian Whyte next.
We've got Renner Young saying, "Oh wow, we'll look forward to seeing Fury fight in the UK." Prince Teddy saying Joyce is a bit too slow for Fury, surely. Kenny, what's your take on all of this?
You know what? The point is fantastic, because I was on a show before that last week, and the very point that the gentleman made when he was talking about kind of, you know, like all these legacy fights, and you know what they'll say is that we're so easily, you know, like, sorry, let me just rephrase what I'm trying to say. We're using the term Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight in the world. You know, we're using that point liberally because of what he did against you know, Vladimir Klitschko 6 years ago, you know, next month. And then we're talking about the two fights with Wilder. Yet we haven't seen Tyson Fury against, you know, live heavyweight opponents that we all believe that he's better than that, but we want evidence that he's better than that. And in order for Tyson Fury to be called the best heavyweight in the world, he has to clean up the division. And I thought that was a beautiful point, because that's exactly what we were discussing last week. We're all in agreement that we all believe that he's the best heavyweight out there, but we want names on his record. We want, you know, for instance, we want Dillian Whyte on that record. We want John Joyce. We want Uzi. We want Joshua. We're clearly going to want. If Dubois game, we want him to, in the next 2 or 3 years, if his wife says that's all he's got in boxing, well, get busy, mate. Get busy, mate. Because you've got 6 or 7 more fights, mate, in those next 2 or 3 years, mate. Seriously, because there's always going to be question marks from people in the boxing game who know the game. I'm not digging out the casuals, but when it comes to the casuals, 9 out of 10 times are the sort of people who will denigrate a boxer after they've lost. They'll do it to Fury if he lost. I promise you, the casuals will. Because a boxer's not allowed to lose a fight. But boxing people, and I put, not so much trainers, but I put, people who are supposed to be experts at the sport, who are, with liberation, are saying he's the best in the division. We think he is, but there's no evidence to prove that. So I do want these sort of fights. In terms of like Dillian Whyte, he should be first in the queue. Because that's going to be a very, very hard fight. In terms of what fight's going to sell with Dillian Whyte, it's a pay-per-view star in this country. So for anyone to say any other British fighter fight than Dillian Whyte fighting Tyson Fury, that the fight wouldn't sell. They're in cloud cuckoo land. In fact, I can even say with greatest confidence and I'll be able to load my reasons, that there's genuine evidence that Dillian Whyte will arguably sell slightly more tickets than Tyson Fury. Because the reason why we can say that is because we've got proof he has. We haven't got proof that he's filled out a state, that he's done, he's done like...
I think he will easy. I think he would have done it by now. If the Wilder fights were in the UK.
Yeah, I think, I don't think we never give him a chance. It seems like he's basically like, he's got like Greenwich as his second, as his sort of spare room. Like every time, Dillian Whyte 02 sold out, pay-per-view. So we know that that 10,000 fans or more will watch it. But we all want evidence now that he's now at that next level in terms of like filling out a Tottenham Hotspur stadium, probably filling out Old Trafford, because Tyson Fury's a Man United fan, like Jay, and he probably want to go Old Trafford. Dillian Whyte would love that. He wouldn't care.
Yeah, all over that.
Yeah, or Dillian Whyte. I think Dillian Whyte, I don't know if he likes football, but I'm sure he'll say he's a Man United fan as well. But those are sort of stadiums where I think, Dillian Whyte will sell tickets. Dillian Whyte's got a massive, massive core support from boxers. And I'm not just talking about people from the Asian community, the Afro-Caribbean community. I'm just talking about people from the boxing community. Most of the boxing community are Anglo-Saxon men and Europeans. And the reason why I say that is because he's taught them his walkout music gets the fans going. Two, he's given them what they want. He's got a even if Dillian Whyte was to fight Deontay Wilder and it was go abroad and we were allowed to have fans over, he'll just get as many fans from this country going to watch him just as much as Anthony Joshua would and Tyson Fury. This is a big, big fight. And I think that would definitely, how many times I can say, I'll say it one more time, definitely sell out. And I think that Dillian Whyte...
Do you reckon it'd do Wembley, Ken? Do you reckon Fury versus Whyte would sell out Wembley?
Definitely.
With their personalities, I don't see any reason why not, because, as I said before, Tyson Fury's personality, if he really, really wants to promote the fight, but a good thing about it is that he'll have a good dancing partner as a promotion in Dillian Whyte. Because Dillian Whyte will sell the fight. He will say the right things. And
the press conferences would be wild, wouldn't they, Ken? The press conferences would be wild.
And the other thing as well, there'll be a lot of people who are going to look into this and think, you know what? Tyson Fury is going to be probably the heavyweight version of Carl Froch. And that Dillian Whyte is going to be like a George Groves, who's going to get us believing that there's flaws in Tyson Fury's technique and that he'll be the man to exploit it. And I think if they go down that angle, we're going to be in for some humdiggers. Because you know what? The Dillian Whyte fan in me is not just a fan emotionally, it's a fan where I think, you know what? There's 2 or 3 levels that I do still think Dillian Whyte has got to go to. His defence is a lot better. He's developing a right hand. His body shots and inside fight is better. Plus, he's still got that left hook. So I can't rule Dillian Whyte out and say that Tyson Fury's going to win every round and box and move, because Tyson Fury is going to have to engage. But the thing is, Dillian Whyte's going to be going for that. Because Dillian Whyte is a genuine heavyweight. You know, you could argue that Deontay was like a bridge weight in a way Dillian isn't. So that'd be very interesting.
It will be interesting. And you say about the Old Trafford angle for Tyson Fury. That's been spoken about. But if it goes the other way, you could easily do the Emirates for Joe Joyce. They've already planted the seeds with Joe Joyce being.
I'm from Islington.
The
I can
Emirates
categorically
Stadium.
say it won't happen. It won't happen because Islington Council don't really give late licenses, and that's why because they were talking about Carl Froch and George Groves being at the Emirates, and I think it's something Islington Council, like then they're loath to give licenses after 10 o'clock. Obviously, I work for the organisation as well myself, but that was one of the things. Maybe they changed their policy. Remember, I work in a different department within Islington Council. I could check if I want. Eddie, all you got to do, pay me a finder's fee, and I'll do all the information yourself. I'm very cheap, Eddie. I could do all of that. Set it up.
You know that, Ken.
Set it up. You don't have to offer me free tickets because you're going to be giving them anyway. If I sort this out for you, Eddie.
Brilliant. And we've got Christopher Anthony saying Fury would prefer Joyce than Whyte. Joyce is tall, slow, and a headhunter. What do you think, Jay? Who would Tyson Fury prefer at this particular moment to fight? Dillian Whyte or Joe Joyce? For commercial and fighting reasons.
I think he'd prefer to fight Dillian Whyte. I don't think he'd want to fight Joe Joyce. Only from what I've heard from the last 6 months, I've heard John Fury come out and quotes from Tyson saying that they really rate Joe Joyce. They think he's the next one to step up after, like maybe win one of the other world titles. I think from AJ or Usyk. So I think personally they'd probably rather fight Dillian. As I said earlier, I think that they see more vulnerabilities in Dillian. And I just feel like I don't know what the situation is. I know obviously does Tyson get a voluntary defence because he defended his title against Wilder? Sometimes that normally happens, doesn't it? If you fight like a mandatory or a rematch for a title, your next shot's normally a voluntary. Whatever the situation is, that's what's going to lead to this fight. So if he's allowed a voluntary, then the chances are he will go Joyce because they're both with Frank Warren. They're both with BT, so it's going to be on BT, and that will be the fight. Like you said, logistically, that makes more sense. But if the mandatory situation gets called for the Whyte versus Fury, then obviously that's going to go ahead. So look, it's whatever the WBC rule and whatever they say. If he's allowed a voluntary, it's probably going to be Joe Joyce, or it could be any person in the top 50 of the heavyweights. Not a diss to Tyson Fury, but he isn't one of them fighters that always will fight in the top 5 heavyweights or top 10. He will happily have a tune-up fight in between. We saw it with Schwartz and we saw it with Wallan. So he's not one of them that worries about what people say about who he's fighting. So look, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back and he's fighting a level someone in a voluntary defence or a Takam or someone like that. But if Bob says it's Joe Joyce or Dillian Whyte, then that's what it'd be. But it's all down to whether the WBC call that fight and it gets arranged. If it's a voluntary defence, it could be absolutely anyone.
Well, so what the WBC have already said is that if the Tyson Fury can't get an undisputed fight with Alexander Usyk within 30 days, then he's got to fight Dillian Whyte. They've called that mandatory. But obviously a unification fight supersedes a mandatory. But the reason why Joe Joyce is now being spoken about is because of we don't know whether Dillian Whyte will fight Otto Wallin. Because
no, he won't.
I know
Eddie Hearns.
I know Eddie
said
so Eddie said that probably won't happen, but we haven't heard from Dillian because Dillian might want a fight before going in with Tyson Fury because it isn't great.
I think he spoke to Eddie. You still
Tyson Fury.
No, you get that, but you saw what Eddie Hearns said. He said it's down to them, Dillian Whyte and Eddie Hearns, if they reschedule. It's not in the contract. It's not on Wallen's side. It's down to them. And he said in that IFL interview, Dillian Whyte's next fight will be Tyson Fury. Them words come out of his mouth. He didn't say, "Oh, he was just fumbling around the rescheduling." Look, Eddie's too honest for his own good sometimes. That's why sometimes it bites him in the arse. For us fans, we love it because we want these promoters to be a bit more honest. We want them to be a bit more open with us, but they can't always do that. Remember, it's a business. They've got to keep their cards close to their chest. But Eddie, sometimes, and obviously with Coogan gets it out of him. He says a bit more than what he should do, and in that set, and he said then, Dillian Whyte's next fight is Tyson Fury at the beginning of next year, and that's what he said. And I don't think if it was going to be the other way around, then they were going to reschedule it 100%. He'd say, look, it's in the contract. We've got to fight him next, which he's done in other situations. He didn't, and people can question the shoulder injury. He even said, like you heard him, he said the shoulder injury. It's given him a bit of problems in that, but if it was probably for another fight, he might carry on. Like it says, if it was probably against Fury, he probably would still be fighting with his shoulder injury. But because it's could jeopardise maybe, and which I don't disagree with, he deserves his title shot. And if he feels like he's got a little injury that could jeopardise that, when the WBC have said that, fair play to you, mate. If you want to sit out for another 2 months to get that title shot, then sit out. There's no question for me for that, because he's waited 4 years. He even lost to Povetkin, took that rematch, won it, knocked him clean out. That's the best way to come back from a knockout defeat, is then to knock your opponent out in the rematch. He done that. So if he's not feeling 100%, to me, even if he didn't not feel 100% and he got offered the opportunity to say, do you want to scrap this fight, and you got Fury at the beginning of next year, I'd still let him take it. I'd give him a free pass this one time, because at the end of the day, Wallen not deserved his mandatory shot. He was picked out. It was a voluntary pick out. He's not number 3 in the rankings, so he's not entitled to anything. He was given this shot. Sometimes in life, then the opportunities get taken away from you. So look, Otten Wallen, just carry on, fight a few top contenders, and it'll come your way. But in this situation, he was given a shot, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. And if it wasn't in the contract for an automatic rematch, if there's any injuries or anything like that, then we got to go by contracts. That's what it is in business nowadays. And Eddie said Dillian Whyte's next fight will be Tyson Fury. He said that, no one else.
Fury, Kenny, do you think that's fair to Otto Wallin?
I think, I agree with. I've got no sympathy for Otto Wallin, because boxing, that's what happens in boxing.
Boxing is not fair, yeah.
Let's just fight. Let's put this in perspective. Otto Wallin got his chance at a heavyweight title fight. All right, don't jump the cube, son, mate. You've had your chance against Tyson Fury, and your chance will come again. You haven't earned your shot.
For the world title, though.
Yeah, for the world title.
Yeah, but he was the lineal world champion. If he beat him, he would have been the lineal world champion, wouldn't he?
It wasn't for the world title. It was he was fighting. But as I said before, obviously he's fighting the lineal world champion. He's had his chance at Tyson Fury. But all I'm saying with Otto Wallin, right? Wait your turn. As Jay says, it was a hand-picked opponent. Hand-picked because it was basically. Dillian Whyte has probably picked a southpaw because he's thinking, right, if I fight Tyson Fury, I want to be able to be prepared to see if he's gonna. Basically, what's happening. If Tyson Fury fights me orthodox, then I know full well that within the fight he's gonna just do the jump and he's gonna go to switch hit in southpaw. So I'm gonna fight a southpaw and a boxer in lieu of me fighting Tyson Fury, and that's why Otto was picked. He could have picked Elenius if he wanted to. He's already beaten Elenius. He's a boxer. But he don't need to fight because he knows what he's about. He wanted someone in Wallin who's a boxer.
Someone in the top 15, isn't it, Ken?
Yeah, top 15.
Anyone in the top 15?
Yeah, he's got deceptive power, but he's a boxer and move. Tyson Fury, boxer and move. Although Sugarill's now taught him got the Gypsy King in him. The snatch in him. In Tyson Fury. But ultimately, he's a boxer. So Dillian Whyte, that is good practice for Dillian. However, he doesn't have to reschedule the fight. It'd be a pork chop if he did reschedule the fight, because simple reason is that you can't come this close only to say, let it go. Because anything could happen. Dillian Whyte could have an off night. He could have a tall shoulder. He could have his head jabbed off, and then.
Joe knows this, Ken, because me and Joe spoke. Joe thought Otten Wallen was a hard fight for Dillian, so Joe knows full well it was a tough fight.
Even if it's a hard fight, and Dillian Whyte has a tear up, it could be a situation where that fight could take so much out of him that by the time he fights Fury, there isn't much left in the tank. So I don't. I think
he could get a bad cut.
Yeah, and that's it.
Or lose, and they've got to do the rematch like Povetkin, lose another year.
Yeah, definitely. But I think when you
life.
fight a fighter like Tyson Fury, you've got to be fresh. You've got to be fresh because he's going to test your technique. He's going to test your fitness. He's going to test your heart. Your heart. He genuinely believes that he's unbeatable. And like I said, there's loads of things you're going to have to do. You're going to have to reinvent yourself when you fight Tyson Fury. You've got to be a boxer, a defender, and a warrior. Dillian Whyte.
You got to be prepared to do what he does, Ken, innit? Get knocked down and get back up.
Yeah, definitely.
You got to be ready for that.
And Dillian Whyte has to think, right, Tyson Fury is going to surprise me and he's going to come inside fight, he's going to try and take me out. I need to be ready for that. Remember, I love a scrap. I'm an inside fighter, and I have to be able to throw my, to get my punches off and throw my combinations. Now develop the right hand. This is a good fight for Dillian. He shouldn't miss out on it. Just to fight a boxer. Yes, it's a shame because it's a good learning curve for him to do all of that. However, I will say that I'm mightily excited about the prospect of. Fight Dillian. Well, if I had my own way, and like I said, I robbed the bank. I'm living in dreamland. I mean, I've got Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury on BT's box office, and then I've got the rematch of AJ and Usyk on Sky box office. Now, I could either swerve both of them and buy tickets. It'd be a bit of it'd be very expensive, but come on, this is once in a lifetime. We're having a prospect of two Brits holding the title and holding the title. No, those two Brits could be Tyson Fury and Joshua. It could be just one Brit, Tyson Fury. It could be two Brits, and Joshua and Dillian Whyte.
Rematch of a British title fight.
You know what I mean? Or it could just be one Brit, Dillian Whyte. I mean, the way this fight should be sold is that Dillian Whyte has to have a fighting chance. He's not going there to have to quit himself very well, like Craig Spike Richards, and everyone's shaking his hand and saying, "Well done, son. You've done all right." Boom, boom, boom. It has to be a situation where we think they're looking at it and they're thinking, you know what? I've come to win. This is my chance because you know what? You'll never get a chance like this again. The way Dillian Whyte fights and the way Dillian Whyte is seen by people in boxing, it's one of those chances where you get one chance and that's it. Casey, remember the film with Robert De Niro and Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah.
I gave you a chance to play policeman, but you blew it. That's what they're going to be saying to Dillian Whyte. So,
well, look, Ken, how long has he waited so far? He's
too long.
For one opportunity, for one title shot. So, like you say, it's going to be difficult after, isn't it? If he doesn't,
you would have thought after he beat Lucas Brown in that fashion that he'll get a title shot. But then again, he had to beat Joseph Parker, an ex-champion, who lost his belts in his previous fight 4 months later against Joshua. So he's beating him and beating him quite convincingly, despite the fact he ran out of gas. I had him about 9-3. I had him going into 12th, 8-3 up. And and obviously you're going to give like a 10-8 round to Joseph Parker, but he was still way behind in points. He was well beaten. I mean, Joseph Parker's only complaint is that he didn't have enough time to knock him out. That's his only complaint.
Yeah.
But Kenny, you've made it clear on the channel before that you're a massive Dillian Whyte fan.
100%.
Who would you want to win that fight? Who would you want to win Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury?
I love them both. They're credit to the country, but I love them both. They're credit to this country and credit to the sport. You've got, and they're both Irish. Tyson Fury's Dillian Whyte's got an Irish grandparent. Who moved to the West Indies from Ireland. And Tyson Fury's, he's got Irish heritage as well. So the Irish community have got the best of both worlds. But I'm going to go with Dillian. Have to go for Dillian because Dillian's story is just as like colourful as Tyson's. I mean, Dillian come to this country from the West Indies, getting involved in gangs, became an ex-kickboxer, hasn't got much amateur experience. He's beaten fighters who've probably got 10 years more boxing experience than him. He's fighting for the world heavyweight title. He's got the skills to be a world champion. He'll look at the Joshua fight and think, you know what? If I was fit enough and I actually boxed him rather than thinking, because I'm a street fighter, I can have him in a street fight, I'll be able to do him, and he'll take silly risks. And Povetkin was just too mechanical and just careless because he thought he had a weak. He made the worst mistake ever you could do against a wounded fighter, taking him for granted. It was a desperate punch that had Povetkin not connected. I think Povetkin would have been when he knocked out in that round, but he recovered. So it's a great story. But he's going to be a massive, massive underdog. But that's only going to be occasional. People who know in boxing, who know that he's capable of doing it. Because Tyson Fury showed vulnerabilities. A person who with no fundamentals, allegedly, took Tyson Fury on the inside. In the first fight, he took Tyson Fury from range and caught him, but they said that Tyson Fury wasn't fit enough. But in the inside, when Tyson Fury thought he could walk him down, he got caught with some cover punches. But they're saying Tyson Fury wasn't motivated and he was still recovering from COVID. That's why he got knocked down twice. But regardless of that, there's a good opportunity if Tyson Fury engages with Dillian. An excellent opportunity for him. Excellent opportunity. And Dillian's condition is a lot better than Wilders is as well, because he's a natural heavyweight. So he wouldn't have to put on big weight. He's big anyway.
Yeah, and I'll ask you the same question, Jay. Fury or Whyte, if that fight was to materialise, who would you be behind? But look, obviously, we both love both fighters because we're British, but if you had to go for one.
Yeah, if I had to go for one, look, this is a pure boxing. This is no bias on either side because, as Joe said, I love Dillian and I love Tyson, but I think Tyson Fury takes him out within 6 rounds. Just on what I've seen, I think with the Kronk style, I just think Dillian. You saw with the knockout of Povetkin, you've seen with AJ, you've seen with the Joseph Parker. He's vulnerable, and I just feel that Tyson will come out straight away on the front foot. I feel like he would just throw bombs at him, lean on him. I'm not saying the weight will be an issue like it was with Wilder, but what I'm just saying is I just feel like he will look at Whyte's fitness going into later rounds. He won't let him get that far, and I just feel like the big shots could take him out. Not saying Dillian can't win. I would never not say that because a fight is a fight. It's 2 men or 2 women going in there, and they're giving it their all. So look, there's always there's more than just a lucky punch for Dillian. I'm not going to say that and be disrespectful because I love him so much. I'm not going to say that he's got a 1 punch chance in the heavyweight division. He's got tools and assets that I feel like he could implement in the fight. But if you give me a 10R and you said, look, you got to put a bet on for this fight, what would you go? I'd say Fury within 6. But look, I love Dillian lots and lots. I'm just saying that on a pure boxing, without any biasness, just as a neutral. If I didn't like any of them, I would just say that's personally how I would see it going. But as I say, he's got more than a 1 punch chance in it. So look, that's more than what some fighters have against Fury. So there's stuff that Dillian can definitely do. He's the body snatcher. You saw Wilder in the third fight. The first round, he was hitting that body for fun. Let's get it right. Every judge give Wilder the first round in their last fight. I think every fan give it to Wilder. Yeah. So there's a blueprint there. I know there's not a blueprint to beat the guy because as I think.
Sorry, Kate. What do you think the motivation levels are going to be for Tyson Fury?
Well, I think he's just an athlete. Like he's a lineal champion. I think he he's really proud on that. That's but he doesn't want to get beat. He doesn't want to lose. He's a fighting man.
But everyone's talking. Wilder was the WBC champion who held the title for 5 years, and he's been christened the best fighter of all, best heavyweight in division because he beat the guy who held the title for 5 years. Previously, he was christened as a great because he beat the guy who held it for nearly 10 years. So in both fights, we're talking motivation levels extremely high. Could his motivation be an issue when he's fighting Dillian Whyte? Because he believes he's greatest. His dad is saying to Swerve.
I think he's
Swerve
self-motivated, Ken. I think
and fight Usyk. So I'm thinking that this is a good opportunity for Dillian if Tyson Fury is not as motivated.
No, I disagree.
Sorry, Jay. I just want to say I think that if this had been before the third Wilder fight, I would have edged to you with you, Ken. But I think that the fact that Fury showed his motivation levels against Wilder in the third fight, as we know, his mind was on Anthony Joshua for such a long amount of time, and we know that he knew that he'd already smashed Wilder up in the second fight, for lack of a better expression. I think that kind of proved to us that his motivation levels will still be there. And
it's just an angle. It's just an angle. Yeah. It's an angle that you do have to look at, because we got to find, obviously we're neutrals allegedly, but we do have to, if we're to analyse what we think is going to happen, and when this fight does happen, Eddie can't balls this up. Surely he can't balls it up. It's an open goal.
It is an open goal.
That's the promoters miss open goals like that.
The thing with Dillian, though. Yeah. Dillian, as one thing that I do agree that Dillian's done well over the last couple of years has been a pay-per-view star, and that gets his stock up, and that gives him a lot of money to play around with to offer Fury to make it a bit more of a better deal, shall we say? So Eddie's going to have the pennies behind him. The zone's going to back him a bit, and I think that could work it.
Can Arum and Hearns work together?
Will they though? Because Hearns said that you don't necessarily have to work on that fight.
Because they promised
Frank Smith could get involved, can he? Or Whyte could go on his own.
Exactly, because Whyte is not actually signed with Matchroom.
Who's that?
Well, Whyte's not actually signed with.
Yeah, he's a one-fight deal, isn't he? He's a one-fight
deal.
Yeah.
So technically, they could just offer Dillian Whyte the deal, and Dillian Whyte could take it.
You know what? If I was Dillian Whyte. If I was Dillian Whyte, as desperate as I am for the fight, don't be a pork chop. Get the negotiating powerhouse of Ratcher and Rangy, and don't be taken for a pork chop. Because if you do it in your own, Warren and Arum are going to take it for a pork chop. And you
got Frank Smith. Frank Smith does a great job. Surely Eddie can give him a few jobs, though. Because look, Eddie has roughed up a few people, hasn't he?
It doesn't have to be Eddie, but it could be Frank Smith.
Yeah, Frank's a great guy.
Use the Arsenal, but they don't go into negotiations without matching with you. You'd be an absolute pork chop if you did it on your own, because they will offer you like tramps money. And I don't say
if I was Dillian now, Ken, mate, I wouldn't really focus too much on the money. I know he's going to get paid well. Look, whatever he gets, he's going to get paid well. But look, he's made his money in the last pay-per-view fights. If I was him now,
he's a business. It has to treat it like a business.
But what means more at the moment, Ken? That world title or more? Look, I love the purity of winning the world title. He's going to get paid well anyway. He's going to get paid well anyway, isn't he?
But there's certain things as well. He's running his own business and management. You've got Matchroom.
He has, but Ken, he's been stuffed for the world title for 4 years. To get a world champion in the ring, take whatever you got to take, mate. Just take the world title. The money will come after. You beat Tyson Fury, the rematch. You're getting 5 times what you're making in that fight,
Jay.
And then the fights after that is as well. Sometimes you got to go small to get big, Ken. You got just get that world title fight.
He's big already though, because let's not forget. Let's not forget. There's people said, and it's allegations. There may not be 100% true, but there was some truth in it where Matchroom, i.e. Anthony Joshua and his people, management and Matchroom, did make a similar offer to Dillian Whyte after, I think it was after he fought Chisora, where they basically tried to treat him like a pork chop. Dillian Whyte, well, I'm not a pork chop. And
AJ got in the ring after that Chisora fight, didn't he?
Yeah, treat like. So if I was Dillian Whyte, I still will want to have Matchroom alongside me and actually have some sort of decent relation and say, look, yes, reason why I've earned this right, but however, I'm a pay-per-view star in this country, and I've basically had more buys than Tyson Fury has. Because,
But that will be
and
pay per
I
view though,
don't
won't
wonder.
it? Fury Whyte will be pay per view, so he's going to get paid well. What I'm saying is, he should have took
But
that
he's
AJ
cut, though.
fight. If he took that AJ fight, yeah, he might have been offered silly pennies. But if he won that fight, he would have got more money. That's one thing. But not just that, he would have had a world title fight. From that day, he's still not had a world title fight. So the decision that he made on that day was incorrect. I know he was loyal to the WBC, but hopefully now Dillian realises they ain't loyal to nobody. No organisation is loyal to anyone apart from the champion. Because that's all that matters, because they're the face of the championship. He should have took that AJ fight because the risk and the reward was much better. Same for this fight. He's going to get paid between 3 and 5 million minimum against Fury. If you want to try and push it to 10, 15 million because you want to be a little bit greedy, to me, 5 million and a world title shot for me, take it, mate. Take it, because you're not going to get another one if you lose or if you don't get it.
15 million is a bit much. And 10 million, I'll say, if I was him, I'll say, look, if you offer me 7 or 8, I'm taking it. And
Mate, you're getting Old Trafford with pay-per-view, Old Trafford. You want to be looking between probably 7 to 10 mil. What I'm saying is, if he's trying to be greedy and asking for 10 to 15, I'm not saying he's going to get that, Ken, but you know what fighters are like. They try pushing the boat a little bit. It's not worth it. If you got offered between 3 and 5 mil and a world title shot at Old Trafford on a platform to beat the lineal champion to change your life forever, go for it. Go for it, because at the end of the day, he's waited 4 years, Ken. It's not like he's become mandatory in the last year. He's not been offered the Anthony Joshua fight before. He's not been stuffed by the WBC for 4 years. If he was just mandatory for a year and he had this opportunity, I'd say, look, try and go a bit more steady. Try and get more money. But look, age ain't on his side. He's in his 30s now. He's waited 4 years. He could have been world champion for 4 years by now, Ken. He could have been fighting for unified titles. He could have been doing all sorts. But it hasn't played out that way. I love Dillian Whyte, but mate, do not balls up this deal. If you get offered this world title fight, whatever it costs, take it, deal. Take it, because I want you to be a world champion. I love Fury as well. But if he become world champion, like I said, I will still be happy. I'll be ecstatic. Obviously, you got AJ down the line. That's another big fight that you could get as well. Which, imagine if Dillian beat Tyson Fury. They had a rematch. He beat Fury again on the second time. I know a lot of people saying, "Oh, you're dreaming." This is just, let's just pretend a hypothetical scenario. Beats Fury twice. Imagine AJ versus Dillian Whyte for all the marbles. If AJ beats Usyk as well at Wembley, that could be massive. Or even the Usyk fight for undisputed championship will be massive.
I just want to say, as much as this is a great debate, you may be debating for no reason here, because it's a WBC mandatory. So whenever there is a mandatory, it usually is that they get 30%. It's usually the realistically here, it may be an easier deal to do it, because where it's voluntary, you get your certain figure, and where it comes into percentages, that's where it gets interesting. But we know usually WBC, I think it's 30% for their mandatory challenges. But taking away that, there's been a big debate of all splits, like Fury, Joshua, 50-50 split and everything like that. If it wasn't a mandatory and it was just a voluntary, what kind of split commercially would you think is fair when it comes to Fury versus Whyte, Kenny?
Well, the thing about it is, I think the 30% is about right. Because I think what's happened is that, I think that will be enough to satisfy Dillian Whyte. I think he'll want obviously he'll want a significantly more out of the pay-per-view stuff, because he's going to say, well, they'll be coming to see me as well, because I'll be bringing a lot of fans my way. So he'll definitely want to look at that. But again, there is like I said, a lot of icing on the cake in terms of what Dave's saying. It is an opportunity for a world title. But I just my situation is, I've got no Frank Warren, respect and like him, but in terms of like these big deals, I think he'll be fair up to a point. Bob Arum, I have no trust in that man whatsoever. Bob Arum is worse than Don King. Is it worse than Don King? If not, what I mean, in terms of like his antics in the last few years. He's been playing all sorts of games, like causing all sorts of fat. And I think that the AJ, Fury fight, I know that if anyone was going to try to cut AJ's money, it'd been Bob Arum, but he just couldn't do it because AJ's just too massive in this country. I don't want that for Dillian. But 30% is perfect, is about right. And I think Dillian would be up for it because, he's, like I said, he's only big bucks out of pay-per-view, but I think he'll want slightly more in the pay-per-view cut. But then again, that's all for someone to negotiate it. Perfectly, he'd be a fool not to have Eddie Hearn or Matchroom doing it. Fred Smith. Do it on his own. Don't do it, mate. Get Matchroom involved.
Yeah, well, this is a great point. I'll just see here coming on, where is it? King Meadows. Warren and Arum won't want it to go to purse bids. They will offer a fair deal. Yeah. I think just lost Kenny. I'm sure he'll be back. But purse bids. If this did go to purse bids, how big would this be for a UK broadcaster type thing to put that on? You got BT, Frank Warren, Bob Arum. For those to put that on, they can combine and surely bring themselves as a powerhouse. You got Sky Sports coming in, who with a lot of money free up. I know they've invested it into Boxer and Wasserman. Hang on, Kenny's back. Yeah. We're just talking about purse bids, Ken. I was just saying about if this fight did go to purse bids with Matchroom, with a Queensbury and Top Rank combined, and with the likes of Sky Sports, you could come in because they haven't got that. They haven't got that Eddie Hearn figure. They haven't got that promoter. We know they've got Ben Shalom on Boxer, but Ben Shalom isn't at the promoter's figure. How big of a purse bid would this be? And surely this would be mega for whatever promoter landed it.
Mega deal.
I can't see it going anywhere other than BT box office. I don't see Sky. At the moment, I don't see Sky. Sky will make a token offer, but they won't make a massive offer because of the reasons that I say it's great respect. I don't think they're going to want to be doing too much business with Eddie Hearn. Or Eddie Hearn.
Especially involved.
No, I think Dale might do it on his own. I know what Ken's saying, but I think if BT offer a nice deal, then he don't need Eddie, does he? Like, what's he needing for?
I still think that obviously he's fought with Sky, but look at this fight that he was meant to have this weekend. He wasn't fighting on Sky this weekend. He was fighting on DAZN. So I don't think Sky went into the bidding. I think
DAZN's got big pockets, haven't they, Ken? DAZN could easily pay for that.
DAZN could do it. But I think that, BT box office, this is a good opportunity for him. Tyson Fury's already delivered in terms of entertainment. And I know that because of what happened in the last fight, I'm not sure that they had big pay-per-view numbers because everyone thought this was going to be a walk down. But I think the pay-per-view numbers will be massive for BT Sport because it's Tyson Fury.
I've got an undercard fight for you as well. Frank Sanchez versus Daniel Dubois. I think that'd be a massive co-main event. I think that'd be a great fight. What do you guys think about that?
It's funny you should say that because that is exactly where I was going along as well. But there'll be other. If it is held in Old Trafford and Bob Arum is serious, it's going to be held in. He wants to fight in the UK. Then you can get. I wouldn't be surprised if his cousin gets on the bill. Gorman.
Nathan Gorman.
Yeah, Gorman.
I'd make it a heavyweight night. Look, I would go Fury versus Whyte, Sanchez versus Daniel Dubois, Joyce versus Andy Ruiz. Have that for 3 fights. That would be unbelievable.
Never happen, but it'd be brilliant.
I don't think Randy Ruiz will get a fight. I think it'd be Joe Joyce versus Robert Hellenius. I think
Gorman versus Wardley. That's a good shout.
I don't think
if Dillian Whyte, like I said, gets a cut of the promotions, then obviously, his mates are Wardley and Savage the Babbage. They might be getting involved as well. Alan Babbage. So, it depends. But
David Adelaide versus Babbage, that would be a great fight.
That's what I was just about to say. It depends on what promotional and management ties are involved in it. Because you see Gorman's just gone over across to Sky and Boxer, isn't he? And then everyone's moving at the minute. It's really interesting landscape. But then if Dillian Whyte's management gets them, he may get a couple of his boys on there. Maybe we're seeing Yusuf Kamari out this weekend, with Babic out this weekend. We've got Fabio Wardley.
But I think
really
Jay's right. It's a great idea to make this like heavyweight title, division, because I thought, it was very successful. Top Rank and BT Box Office did. Well, it was mostly Top Rank, really, what they did with, Sanchez versus, Jagba, Helenius versus Kawanaki. So, and then obviously Whyte.
Even Jared Anderson versus Dubois or something like that. That's a great fight as well. I think that's a fight that Dubois needs. I think that's too early for Anderson personally, Dubois. I think it's way too early for the lads.
I go for. To be fair, I'm not fussed whether it's heavyweight on the card. I just like the idea of fringe prospect moving into contenders being able to showcase their talents on the world scene when it comes to that. Like, because that really boosts profiles.
Yeah, but don't you think though, Joe, that if we do have fights like Helenius versus Joe Joyce, that would enhance the card, because you're not just getting the main event, you're also getting other fights, attractive fights in there as well.
On paper, it enhances the card, but as we saw on the undercard of Fury Wilder 3, it doesn't always materialize the great fights. For example, like the Jared Anderson one was a bit slow. It was just a great performance by Anderson. The Helenius Kawanaki one was really over in the first minute and a half when he got the bag cut, and after then it was just a beat down from Helenius.
Don't you think it's both durable fighters, Helenius and Joe Joyce?
On paper, fantastic. But for me, I'd rather maybe focus on some really good fights and try and build the profile of some young British fighters.
Yeah, like Zach Parker and people like that.
Zach Parker. I'd love Sonny Edwards on there. I'd love to get Sonny Edwards co-feature against a really good world-level opponent. So you got that technical fight. I think they tried to do it with... Go back to the Povetkin AJ card at Wembley. They tried to do it with a Coley Askins, and it just blew back in their face massively. I know it was a 2-5. I know it was a 258 management fighter in Lawrence Coley, but the idea was a Coley get on a big bill, good British fight.
How long did it last?
Matty Askin. Oh my God, it was terrible. It was the most boring fight ever.
I could tell you that it was awful. It was one of the worst. It was
I was there. I was there that night, and it was absolutely terrible. So it worked. So you never know what's going to materialise on the night. But I'll just say, for me, I love, maybe David Adelaide, Dennis McCann. This is just, I'm assuming.
Zach Parker.
Zach Parker, yeah.
He's number one. He's number one, isn't he?
Yeah, but I'm assuming now it goes more to the Queensberry side. But don't forget, Top Rank will have heavy involvement in this. So you could build from that. For example, bring a couple of US talents over. Nico Walsh-Ali, imagine bringing him over to the UK. That'd be amazing.
I think having Joe Joyce in that bill will be good for the card, but it also be great for Joe Joyce as well. Obviously, he's not going to be headlining a pay-per-view, but for someone like to be fighting on a pay-per-view card, I think it's good. He's going to get his name out there, and it's going to be a fight which it's going to be a long fight, and he'll be able to. It's going to be in America. Let's get to see him, because everyone. He's one of the fighters who you probably put in this little club. Don't need you club. Because as you said, he's the sort of person who generally will walk you down and can walk you down, and he's got one of those jabs, just like a hammer. So it'd be good looking. I look at loads of fights. Obviously, I don't want to see the rematch of Dubois yet, but I'm thinking Joe Joyce versus Joyce. You're talking about I'll say Joyce Sanchez, maybe Joyce against, maybe give a Jabber another chance. You know what I mean? That sort of fight. You know, Jabber's a bit of a banger, but Joe Joyce has got a good jab. You know what I mean?
Well, how about if we go down the route of, look, we know you was meant to fight Dillian, so why don't you get on the undercard of his fight and go Wallin?
Wallin versus Joe Joyce.
Otto Wallin on the
Well,
undercard.
Baby Miller. I've heard Baby Miller's flying around again, isn't he? I've heard his name pop up a few times. I don't want him anywhere
near the heavyweight division. I don't want
No, me either, but I've heard his name a few times. I wouldn't be surprised, Joe.
Trust me. There's going to be a promoter out there who's going to fly him over, and he's going to get his chance. Because I think what's happening right now, we have to remember, right, that sport is about second, third, and fourth chances, and he'll be fighting on big bills again. There's no doubt about that.
100%, I agree, Ken. 100% agree with that.
Definitely, and that is just a shame, though. But unfortunately, that is the boxing world we live in. We're just going to get this comment up, and then we will move on to our final big topic of this evening. But Ryan Fletcher says Tyson will offer him money. What get thinks Whyte is worth, and that is 80-20, and Matchroom will have nothing to do with it. And all the boxers Tyson wants to take it or leave it, and that's that. But that would be that if it was voluntary defence, but mandatory defences, where the WBC starts getting involved, 30%, or he could get stripped off the title. But I don't know what's going to happen there. We know Dillian Whyte's legal team's on that, and we know he's got his separate management team. He's got advisors, so that's why maybe his Matchroom's not needed. And Eddie Hearns said, like, he wants to see that fight. Obviously, he'd love to get involved, but a fight, well, whether I don't think too many hardcore boxing fans would be interested in seeing is Mike Tyson versus Logan Paul, which has been spoken about over the last couple of days. Jay, I'll get your reaction to Mike Tyson versus Logan Paul first.
Well, first of all, I think it's probably going to happen. I've seen quite a lot of it on Instagram, and it's coming out of the pipeline a little bit at the moment. I think it's going back to a comment where I think Logan Paul said he would beat Mike Tyson or something, like after he beat Floyd Mayweather. And I think it's kind of stuck with Mike Tyson, and he wants to have a fight. Look, if Mike Tyson's getting in there, I want him to knock someone out if he's getting in there. With the Roy Jones one, he had to take it a bit easy, and he didn't it was an exhibition fight, let's be real. Is this going to be an exhibition fight? Is Mike Tyson going to let Logan Paul get one over on him? I don't know. Look, I don't know. The world's gone crazy. It's been going crazy in the boxing world for the last couple of years. But if it happens, look, I like Logan Paul. I don't like Jake Paul. I've said that many times. I don't like Jake. I like Logan. Logan's respectful. If you actually have the time to see what he's about in that, he's a very nice guy. Jake, on the other hand, I think he's a douchebag. But look, if I see, I'd like to see Mike Tyson knock him out. Look, let's be real. If he's going to get in there, let him bang him out. But look, it's not great for boxing, is it? It's not great at all. But Ken, I'll let you go with this one.
You know what? You sometimes, right? You just have to move the times, and I think the times is that, you know, people in boxing, especially in the United States, and Eddie's can't beat him, so he's joining them, and so is that, there seems to be a direct desperation for boxing to get younger people into sport, and by getting younger people into a great sport, we're going to have garbage like this. I mean, people like KSI, Logan Paul, who's the other one? Some other YouTubers.
Ken, look, the fans
should be nowhere near the ring.
Let's be real, Ken.
Nowhere near the ring.
Break down the fight for us. Tell us how Logan Paul's going to beat Mike Tyson. The fans want to know. Break it down for us. Break it down.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. They're going to have it in his contract that Mike Tyson is going to box him like David Haye boxed his best mate a couple of months ago, and guess what? They're not going to be allowed to knock each other out. That's what's going to happen.
There's going to be body sparring, just no headshots, body sparring.
I think I don't know. All I'm trying to say is that I just don't understand what's happening. I think what's happening is that there's a lot of hardcore boxing fans who are young people, We don't need to put rubbish like that. What the hell is KSI, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, and other British YouTubers doing in the ring? It's pathetic. It's rubbish.
Well, unless they're fighting each other, Ken. As long as they're fighting each other, I don't mind.
I mean, Maya Jammer's, not only is she going to be presenting boxing, she's presenting some rubbish for Simon Cowell. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Ken, look, Maya's not done anything tonight, Ken. We know you have a few issues with Maya. She ain't done nothing, and you've gone straight into her. You've gone straight into her there. What assets does Logan Paul have, Ken? Tell me. Does he have good reach? Does he have a good jab? Does he have a good hook?
I'll tell you his assets. 10 million YouTube subscribers and about heavily sponsored shows where he gets paid probably about 100 grand a show, plus his YouTube earnings where he monetizes everything. That's what
will his reach cause Tyson a problem? Will Logan's reach cause Tyson a problem? Will Tyson have to duck and weave, get past that long jab?
I'll tell you what Logan Paul would do. What they'll do is they'll get together and they'll just say, right, it's an exhibition. So basically, you're not allowed to knock me out because you knock me out. Because you knock me out, I'm going to zoo you. But what will happen is if we have become great dance partners, what you're going to do is that you're going to bob, weave. I'm going to try and hit you, and I won't be able to hit you. So I'm going to try and use my reach. I'm going to come in and go win million, and then you're just going to go bang, move out, and just dance around me. That is going to be a tactic of that fight.
And I've got another question for you, Ken. Sorry, Joe. Do you believe Logan Paul should be the favourite at the bookies after beating the greatest of drawing with the greatest of all time, Floyd Mayweather, in the previous fight? They're both coming off draws. They're both coming off draws. You've got Roy Jones Jr. and Floyd Mayweather, respectively. Do you think Logan Paul should be the favourite in that fight?
You know what? Logan Paul, the only guarantee is this fight is going to get the points. Mike Tyson is going to win heavily, and then we're going to go back to it, and then what will happen is that people are going to be slamming the whole situation and saying it's a bad day for boxing. Because it could be
like Douglas again. It could be Logan Paul gets a knockout on Mike Tyson. It shocked the world.
Well, no. If Mike Tyson, I mean, how can Mike Tyson go from basically appearing in award-winning documentaries about his life to this garbage? I mean, we all got to get paid, but really, this
20 mil, Ken. 20 mil might say quite a lot. I think.
Look, good luck to him. Good luck to him because these YouTubers, are.
Prince Teddy says it right in the comments there. You got to go with what Prince Teddy's saying, Joe. Get it up, Joe. Prince Teddy's he's spitting facts. Logan is the only person who hasn't lost to Floyd. Like Ken, what you got to say about that? Logan Paul's probably the most informed boxer at the moment. If you go by that,
see, that's the thing. The worst thing that's going to happen. Right?
Lost to KSI, draws with Floyd Mayweather. Looks like Joe's on magic mushrooms at the moment. He don't even know what he's hearing.
Yeah, but you know what's happening, right? And you know what's happening, right? It's just pathetic. I mean, Tommy Fury's got to be one of the biggest pork chops I've ever done. First, he's a.
That's your word of the day, isn't it? Pork chops.
I'm not too funny.
I think he's got it for dinner, Joe. I think after this, he's got pork chops for dinner.
You don't think it gets me? He goes on that rubbish, that garbage. All right, it's given a high profile, some nonsense love. Like I said, Sun-Kissed version of Blind Date. It is bloody Blind Date because they didn't know each other before, and then now he's getting involved in this rubbish, and he's actually taking it seriously. I mean, come on, mate. You're meant to be a serious boxer. Like I said, you're part of a family of, street fighters and the most respected boxing name, and you're actually entertaining that rubbish for money. Oh, boxing, man. It's in the gutter.
Crazy.
I just want to say, go on, Kenny. Yeah, no, I just want to say, when it comes to that fight, like when I saw it, I wasn't shocked. I was just disappointed. I'll just go back to the start of this, the very, very start of this whole trend. KSI versus Joe Weller. Beautiful.
That's the other one I was talking about.
Fantastic. No problem with that whatsoever. I thought that was a good bit of entertainment, white collar fight. We'll go to KSI versus Logan Paul. Didn't watch that one. I ain't got a problem with it. Then we went to the rematch, KSI Logan Paul. I bought the pay-per-view, but I turned it off for the main event. I just watched Devin Haney and Billy Joe Saunders. I didn't watch that at all. Then it goes to all Jake Paul's bizarre stuff. Then Mike Tyson comes out of retirement to fight Roy Jones. No problem whatsoever. Two legends going at it. Even Logan Paul versus Floyd, I can understand because that's Floyd's character. He's always been like the money guy and everything like that, putting on a show. But Logan Paul versus Mike Tyson, not for me. Won't be watching it. Won't have any bit of interest in it. Won't even watch the highlights. I'll wait for someone to tell me. Not a damn bit of interest in it.
I don't blame you because I think what's happened was that in a day it's about sports entertainment. In a day, do we actually want to turn this into the WWE or what's it, the WC Derby or any of these NWAs or some nonsense? I mean, come on. Boxing is about boxing. I don't mind, like trash talking. I love all that. But at least we're actually seeing a sport. But this is ridiculous now. I mean, what is it with celebrities? Everyone wants to be a boxer. Why does everyone want to be a boxer? I mean, before it was.
I think they do, Ken, until they get punched in the face because a lot of them don't see them again after a fight.
Don't get me wrong. I grew up with seeing a lot of celebrities having their exhibition matches and football matches. They're all living their day and they play the Legends match against celebrities. I get all that. It's fun. But this is a hurt business. It's a hurt business. I mean,
you've got to stay in your lane, Ken. The thing is, let's be real. YouTubers fight YouTubers. If a footballer wants to fight a footballer, I think that's what Joe was alluding to. When it's similar people in the similar lanes, that's cool. It's when you start mixing it and going from... Look, we saw Evander Holyfield versus Victor Belfort not long ago. That was one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen. That was the only time with all these fights, like Joe said, I didn't really have a problem with the others and why they were made or whatever. But that fight there, they should not have let that guy in the ring. That guy was not fit to fight. He wasn't in no state. And then you put him in with a caged MMA fighter who wants to make a name for himself, wants to put a beat down on this boxing legend. Let's be real. He went in there with mean intentions. It was meant to be an exhibition fight, I'm told. He didn't go in there with that mentality. That guy went in to take him out, and he was fighting a guy who could barely stand up. Let's get it real. He struggled getting in the ring.
No sympathy for Evander Holyfield.
I'm not saying he had any sympathy. What I'm saying, Ken, is that fight for me wasn't right. But if you're getting KSI versus another YouTuber, look, that's cool. Because look, I'll have a scrap. As I said before, I'll watch two guys out on the street having a scrap. It doesn't really bother me. I just like a good old fight. But when it starts mixing don't we all? But when you start mixing it, like you say, with the mad fights that just don't seem real, what are we going to get on the undercard? David Haye versus Anderson Silva. That's probably what you're going to get. That's probably what you're going to get.
Let me tell you something now. Wherever there's a penny or a pound, you'll see David. So yes, David Haye will definitely do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Just to finish up tonight, last 5 minutes. Matchroom card on the 30th was meant to be Dillian Whyte versus Otto Wallin. You looking forward to it, Ken? Good night of O2 boxing?
I look forward to it much more if Dillian Whyte was on it because it's Dillian Whyte. But, like I said, the main event is Chantal Cameron versus Mary McGee.
Yeah, good fight. Really, really good fight. That's a hard fight for Cameron as well.
That's
really hard fight for Cameron.
It's a really, really hard fight. It's like I said, you've got someone who's good little pedigree. Fought at like a massive level. Got more experience. She's got 15 knockouts and 27 wins. So that's a good fight. Babic versus Melina. Melina stinks the place out. Melina. The reason why I got no time for Melina, I always think when I see Melina, is a case of he'll go to Eddie. Which round do you want me to go down in? We saw it blatantly with Wardley. As soon as Wardley hit him once, boom, he went down like a sack of spuds. I've had enough of this guy. I didn't like him. I didn't like him when he fought Dillian Whyte. Deontay Wilder. I didn't like him when he fought Anthony Joshua. He's one of the boxing's biggest cowards ever. How he got a ranking, I'll never know. You know, it's a bad day for boxing when this man gets a fight. But then again, in the 80s, there was loads of Americans we flew over, like Molina, who came to make boxers look good. You know, Tyrell Biggs, you know, was an Olympian. But after he lost to Mike Tyson, he was another opponent that, you know, came to make British boxers look good. We were doing it all throughout the 80s. I can send you videos of Eric Molinas. There were so many Eric Molinas in the late 80s, 90s, and I thought we'd seen the last of these sort of fighters. But Eric Molina, another pork chop. Then you've got Craig Richards versus Marek Mattia. Again,
yeah,
you know, that's a good workout for Richards. You know what I mean? You know, both got similar records. You know, and they both got knocked out 9 opponents each. So that's a good record. We got you know, Kamari versus Costagna.
Yeah.
So that's a good fight. And we got our good old friend Johnny Fisher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ellie Scotney and Eva Cantor. So no complaints really.
And John Hedges as well.
John Hedges as well. John Hedges is fighting.
Domestically, it's a tiny little card. Let's be real.
It's a tiny little card, but you know, I'm glad. I'm just glad that I've got some boxing to watch, and I'll be watching it faithfully, without any complaint. Well, a bit of complaint, but because Dillian was on it. But you know what? Yeah. I know now that I'm getting something bigger than Wallin. I'm going to get Dillian and Tyson Fury, which is a dream fight for both for me, because I'm a massive fan of both fighters.
And as well, I think it could be a little blessing in disguise. I know you said that, Kenny, because we know it looks like we could get Whyte versus Fury, but elsewhere it could be another blessing in disguise, because Eddie said it means he's doing an extra massive show in December. And personally, if I'm doing a little bit detective work, I think that could be. Bang on
it. What's he got in the calendar? Because I know, like the last show's going to be 18th, isn't it? So he's got.
Yeah, he said it to IFL 2 days ago. Yeah, he said he's definitely putting one in December, a really big card, because this one fell through. So basically, it's on a Saturday. So we only got the 4th and the 11th, really, isn't he? Yep, 2 of the 4 weekends, Ken.
So it's
full, isn't it?
So yeah, you got 4th, which is the same day as
Josh Warrington. People are saying, will he be on it?
Could be Josh Warrington, but the 4th is the same as Yard versus Arthur 2. Will you go ahead against that? Or I think there's another big card on the 11th. Oh yeah, there is. It is the Birmingham show.
Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall.
Yeah, that's on box. That's on a boxer. That's a boxer promotion.
Yeah, that's a boxer promotion. So
we're going to get clashes all over December, I think.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of the clashes everywhere. And I just want to give a quick mention to Johnny Fisher, because he's fighting this weekend. And I know a lot of people who are going to see Johnny, who have bought tickets to see Johnny. That he's going to smash the place out. Go and watch them.
Are you going to be going, Charlie?
In the life of
Are
Fisher.
You going?
I'm not sure. I might be, Kenny. I might be. I'm not sure at the minute. I might do, but a ticket's there for me if I want it. So I might go.
The thing is, right, is that someone's offered me a ticket to go and watch Arsenal play Leicester City at Leicester's ground. And you know, I don't know. I think that ticket's probably been withdrawn because I've been ooming and ahhing about it. But you know, I think if I was to go any event on that date, it would be that because it's a long-term investment. Obviously, if Dillian Whyte was there, you know, because I could have come back for the Dillian Whyte fight. But I thought, you know, let me put my feet up for a bit. But you know, in terms of next year, I've got a lot to look forward to. But you know, the next few months, up until like Christmas, some good fights out there. I'm gonna miss probably one of the cards, the 8th of December card, because I'm gonna be abroad on business. But I'll be
Nice.
back in time for Christmas, so I'll probably miss that card. So if
Yeah,
there's anyone could take pity on me, send me some links. I'll watch it abroad.
Definitely, brilliant. And I think that just about covers everything. Anything else you want to mention, Jay?
No, just if everyone can hit that subscribe button for us, hit that notification bell. Pep Talk Boys also on our socials, official Pep Talk Boys on Instagram. Get over there. Also Pep Talk Boys on Facebook, Twitter. Just support the channel. We really appreciate it. Want to say congratulations to Joe. We done an interview with Mark Tibbs a couple of weeks ago. That hit 10k for us, so that's great for us to start
Excellent.
on this new platform. So well done, Joe. Keep up the work. And yeah, all the fans, everyone getting involved, everyone who's got on the social medias already and in the chat and that. Tonight we haven't been able to get you on the channel, but look, stay with us the next couple of weeks this week, and we get some. Ra was here. We were going to get Ra on, but obviously
just run out of time.
Just went out of time. He was here in the chat, but look, you fans, any more lives that we'll be doing and watch-alongs in that, you're always welcome in the future. Tonight we had a good debate tonight. Let's be real, the three of us. We had a good chat, but look, we will get you all on. But yeah, hit that notification bell, subscribe Pep Talk Boys, and just continue the support. We really do appreciate it. And yeah, you can check me out as well on Instagram. You can see it down below. But most of all, just support the channel and support Pep Talk Boys. That's the main thing. But I had a great evening with you two. Yeah, Ra, you did ask to come on. Apologies just for tonight. I've got to go 9:15, and now I've got to go. So we're short for time, but next time we'll get you all on. We do promise. We want to get everyone on.
Yeah, I messaged you. We messaged you back. Yeah, and Kenny, anything else you'd like to say?
Well, what I would like to say is that I'm in the Lyndon Arthur camp for this December. I think Lyndon Arthur's probably going to knock out Anthony Yard this time because he's got a right hand.
That's another show, Ken. That's another show. Don't let it out yet, mate. Don't let it out yet. So, that's a good, tasty one that we got to get into. So don't.
I thought I'd kind of tickle your fancy, and I thought you'd be happy by that, mate. But
I am. I'm very happy. But that's a long show, Ken. I've got a lot to talk about that fight.
As you say, I'm always here to please, mate.
Well, no, you ain't got the vest on. Next time, Ken, get the tank top back on.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Yeah. I'll do my best. All right.
Best to get the vest. Cheers, guys. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment.
I'll see you later.
There you go. See you later. See you, Jed. See you soon.